Hey everyone, today's a little bit of a different project. What I'm going to do here is do a modification and a repair to my friend's turntable. This is a Technics SL1200MK2. If anyone has ever seen a DJ, they know this turntable well. So this is, again, it's made by Technics. It's die-cast aluminum. It probably weighs, I don't know, 30 pounds. You can see this sparkle crap that he put on it is not standard. Normally it's just a flat gray finish. And his DJ name is Cooley Kirk, so this turntable has Cooley, and then his other one has Kirk. So let's get into the modifications. First one we're going to do is what's called the brake modification. And if you see when I press stop, it stops pretty hard. So you can adjust the brake. So what he wants us to do is adjust it so after it stops, it actually just slowly drifts forward. So it would stop, stop, and then drift. So this one's pretty easy. First thing we're going to do is unplug the power. So we have the power unplugged. And then what we're going to carefully do is remove the platter. So you just pull up. The reason that we want to unplug the turntable is I was once told by a technician at Panasonic that you never want to turn the turntable on while the platter is off. Something to do with the way the motor works. So all we have to do is remove these 5 Phillips screws. One of the reasons why these turntables are so well liked by DJs is the motor. It's direct drive, as you can see. It's not belt driven like some of the cheaper turntables, and it has a very high torque motor, which is good because if a DJ wants to manipulate the record or scratch, the motor gets right back up to speed. So all I'm going to do is kind of just pry this. So you can see there's some gunk. But like I was saying, the motor gets right back up to proper speed. And it's also quartz locked, so the RPMs are kept very stable. So what we need to do, if you look here, there is a potentiometer and it's labeled brake. I think that's called a potentiometer. Anyways, this little dial thing, and there's one for the pitch, so you can actually adjust the pitch. So all we're going to do is just turn it ever so slightly. I'm not going to, well, yeah, I'll put this back on. I won't screw it in. Put that on. Put the platter on. Plug it back in. And let's see what happens now. So it's still pretty tight. Okay, unplug. Well, let's turn it counterclockwise a little bit more. Oops, got to plug it back in. There we go. So it just rolls a little bit. We might actually just loosen up just a little bit more because it's tight, but it's getting better. Let's loosen it up just a hair more. Again, I'm just going to turn the brake one. counterclockwise. Oops, I forgot to unplug it that time, but I did have it off, so I need to heed my own warning. There we go. I think that's just right. Okay. So I'm going to unplug it this time. Put the screws in. So the next mod that we're going to do, well, this is really just a tuning right here, what we just did, but the next mod is going to be removing the ground wire. If you've ever used a turntable, besides the two RCA plugs, you've seen the ground wire. It's just a bare wire that you normally have a little screw that you have to attach it to. And for a DJ who's constantly setting up and tearing down his equipment and connecting that wire, eventually what happens is the little spade that's on there breaks from being, you know, screwed on and screwed off. And then what they wind up doing is they're at a gig, so they cut the little spade off and just have a bare wire. And then what happens with the bare wire is frays and breaks, strands break, and so then the wire gets shorter and shorter and shorter, and then they wind up putting the wire like this on it, and you know, eventually they run out of wire. So let me move this mixer quick. Alright, sorry, I said let's move the mixer. What I meant is let's move the turntable and get the mixer. So now I have his mixer, and I have my my voltmeter, and I have it set to continuity. So what I'm going to do is show you, so here are the plugs that they hook the ground wire up to. Put it down here. Okay, so we have continuity. If I put it on the ground of the plug, continuity. But also if I put it on the outside of the RCA and on the ground, I have continuity. See? So essentially all of these plugs are hooked up to ground. The inside's not. So what we can do is we can open up the turntable, take the ground, and on the inside we'll solder it to the outside, I guess it's the negative of the RCA plug. And then you don't need to hook up the ground anymore. As soon as you hook up the RCAs, you have a ground and the turntable won't hum, because that's what happens if you don't hook up. That's what happens if you don't hook up the ground, it will hum. So next what I'm going to do is get these old pillows, and I'm going to put them out because I'm going to lay the turntable on the platter side. And you want to make sure that you do not bend the tone arm. So we're going to try to position this just like that. Alright, so it's basically on the pillow. And now what we're going to do is go through, take all of these screws out. So we're going to take the legs out, or the feet, whatever you want to call them. and then we're going to go through and undo all these screws. So I'm going to use a drill. I'm just going to be real careful that I don't strip them or break them. Okay, so now we have all the screws out. What we're going to do is just take this rubber base and pry it apart. It's sometimes a little bit stubborn. It's actually a heavy piece of rubber anyways. Be careful not to move it around so that the tone arm gets any weight on it, because the tone arm is kind of a thin aluminum tube. There we go. This base is actually very heavy. Alright, so now we're going to pull the power plug, pull it through, just so that we have some more slack. I want to reposition this on the pillow. I think the tone arm is good. And what we're going to do next is take these screws off here. And then we're going to take these screws off here. You can see somebody was in here already. They put marks showing how it should be reassembled. I'm guessing whoever changed out the RCA cables did that, because these aren't the standard RCA cables that come with the unit. Okay, so now if you can see, here's the ground wire. Pull this out, separate that. Here's the ground wire, and the ground wire actually comes under and connects to here. What we're going to do is we're going to connect it to either one of the braided lines of the RCA, so I guess the shielding. So we're going to solder it right there. So what I'll do is, let's see, you have to be very careful, because these are the wires that actually go through the tone arm and directly connect to the head shield, so they are very fine. Be very careful not to damage those, cut them, or pull them off, because they're so delicate. You don't want to be messing with that. So I'm just going to leave a little bit of slack in case we need to get in here again another time. So I'm just going to take that, cut it off, remove some insulation. Just kind of bending the wire back so that it goes right on. Okay. So now I have some solder here. I have my soldering iron all heated up. Let's go and put that on here. Put a little bit of solder on to get it to flow. Now I'm just going to hold it down with these. Okay, so everything looks good. Roll the solder back up. Alright, so now we're going to put it back together, and that should do it. Okay, put this heavy piece of rubber back on. Okay, now when you're putting it back together, there are 3 different lengths of screws. There's these short ones, these medium-sized ones, and these long ones. There's 4 long ones, and they go in the corners. Okay, and then these medium-sized screws, let's see how many of those there are. There are, let's see, they go in these black holes here. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then these small ones go in these holes where you can actually see the metal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So now we're going to tighten them all down. I'm going to do these by hand because I don't want any of the heads of the screws to snap off. So here. Okay, so everything's tight. Put the feet back on, and then we're going to turn it over and give it a try. And hopefully there's no hum. If there is, we did something wrong and we'll have to open it all up again. Be careful when you're flipping it back over that the platter doesn't come off. Let me get these pillows out of here. Okay, so we have the turntable flipped back over. We have it plugged in. It's hooked up to an amplifier, and we put a cartridge on. And we're going to put on every DJ's favorite, which is Tom Petty. It's actually just the first record that I pulled right off my shelf, so let's give it a try and see what happens. So there's no hum. Sounds good. So here's a a demonstration of the break. It's kind of an effect DJs like. Okay, so that's it. If you have any questions or comments, please put them below. Give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel. My channel is basically about things that I work on, things that I like welding, building things, flying my drone, household projects, kind of just anything. So I'm always tinkering. So if you like what you see, hit subscribe. And again, I appreciate any comments that you leave. Try to make them positive. And I'll see you guys next time. Thanks a lot.